This is the Mamiya C220, and it's the biggest twin-lens reflex camera I own. If you've never seen one of these cameras before, you look through the lens up here, and then you shoot the picture through the taking lens down here. So it's a bit of a different concept from what you might be used to. It doesn't really exist in digital. This has the advantage that, unlike with SLRs, the mirror doesn't have to move out of the way. Yes, there's a mirror in this. And it means there is no mirror slap, which means you can use slower shutter speeds, and there are also less likely to be mechanical faults with this design, so that's quite cool. And of course, they look gorgeous. However, there are always trade-offs, and in this case it means that there will be parallax distortion the closer you get to the subject, which means that the viewfinder doesn't really reflect what you see on the picture in the end. There are guides for this on the viewfinder, and there are also guides down here with this exposure compensation for the bellows. That's also really interesting. You can also get a parameter that will adjust it according to the difference. It's for the tripod. I have one somewhere, but I haven't actually used it yet, so I normally just rely on a bit of, guessing and guides in the viewfinder, and that normally works out fine. This camera is very special to me because it was given to me by a friend, and this used to belong to her late husband, and she wanted someone to have it who would appreciate it and use it, and yeah, she gave it to me, and this is one of my favorite cameras already because of that. What's special about this camera is that it has interchangeable lenses, and I only have the 18mm at the moment, but I'm hoping that one day I'll get one of the wider angle lenses as well, and I actually quite enjoy that perspective of wide angle 6x6 cameras. Diane Arbus, for example, shot with a wide angle 6x6. In this case, it was a wide angle Rolleiflex. Yeah, I'm hoping that one day I'll get one of those lenses. They're a little bit hard to find in Europe, so importing it from Japan might be something I have to do for this, but I hope that one day I'll get to it. I actually shot my 1000th roll of film with this, and if you haven't seen that video yet, then you can watch it here, I believe. I wanted to do something special for it, and this was the camera I chose because it's just so special to me. Today we'll be looking at a roll that I shot like 4 years ago. That was around the time when I made that video, and yeah, I kind of didn't develop it for a while. I have quite a few rolls that aren't developed yet, and some of them are even from 2017. Yeah, oops. So yeah, this is a bit of a time travel episode in a way. But yeah, let's get into it. Making videos can be quite challenging, especially when you're surrounded by noise. 4 years ago, we used to escape the construction noise of the city by going up onto the mountain trails of the Camino. I was at my happiest then during a difficult time. It helped to see all the green while staying mostly inside. It kept me sane during the pandemic. The funny thing about film is that it slows you down, and most people say that's a good thing, but if you're trying to make videos about photography, it doesn't help to disconnect yourself from your pictures to such an extent that you don't remember ever taking them. And then it becomes quite hard to talk about what you've been doing and why you've been taking those pictures. I left the GoPro running while we were going for our walks, and it's so strange to look back on that footage now. because I remember how I felt during that time, and it clashes very much with these pictures and the footage. I wasn't happy, generally speaking, but at least going out to take pictures helped. Sometimes. I didn't go very often because I wasn't feeling it. Too disconnected. Looking at the world with different eyes through a viewfinder can change your perspective quite a bit, and it was like stepping into a different world, one where the politicians weren't going mad and my world wasn't closing in on me. The Mamiya C220 is a great camera for changing the way I see. I like rangefinder cameras, and they can't focus very close, but the Mamiya can do that, and in this way it changes the way I look at things. I can take pictures with it that I couldn't take with my Leica, and that's why I like it. I really like these pine cones embedded in the ground, so I tried to take a picture of them. They blend a bit too much with the earth perhaps, but in a way I like it too, because it makes me look twice at it to figure out what I'm looking at. Taking pictures with the Mamiya is a slow process. I always spend time metering the shot with an external Gaussian light meter. Especially with changing light under the trees, it's sometimes hard to guesstimate the exposure. On the street it would be easier and I probably wouldn't need the meter, but I don't really like the Mamiya for street photography because it's very in your face, very eye-catching and intimidating because it's so big. My Rolleicord is much better for shooting street, and it usually makes people smile, but the Mamiya is something else. More of a camera that makes people ask, what on earth is that? That can be fun too, but I prefer it much more for static things, and I tend to take it into nature a lot. Smelling the forest.
Smells like burn.
I've been walking these trails and looking at the cliffs for quite a few years, and I've taken many pictures up here. By now we moved to a different city and the Camino isn't quite behind our house anymore. I'm grateful that I could spend such a long time walking in such beautiful nature. I took many different cameras up here. My Leica, my Speed Graphic, both my Mamiyas and also my toy cameras, the Diana and my Brownie with the flip lens especially. It was the project that inspired my album Hypnagogia, and I took many pictures that looked for something much more eerie on these trails. The Mamiya doesn't quite fit into the rest of the project, and all I do with it is explore how things look photographed. Look.
I saw. What, the height?
The height.
I saw. It's strange like it.
It's very literal in a way. It gives you exactly what you see. It's great for portraits too, but I'm not much of a portrait shooter. It's either street photography or nature for me most of the time, and during the pandemic, street photography wasn't really an option for me because I'm risk group. And until I was vaccinated, I didn't really feel comfortable to be near people, especially not in a crowded touristy place like this one. I mean, look at it. It's so beautiful. Of course people come here on holiday because it's just so nice. So this roll was basically part of my Hypnagogia project, and that is the project that sparked my latest album, Hypnagogia. And if you enjoyed the music in this video, then you can check out the link in the description to my bandcamp, where you can check out the album, The music you heard was all from that album. It's all related to the forest and to, well, these kinds of pictures that I've been trying to get there. Normally I look for more eerie stuff there for this project. It's a bit between dreaming, waking, that sort of thing. I look for eerie pictures, a bit darker, with a flipped lens maybe in the Brownie, or with toy cameras like the Diana or the Holga. Most of it was done on the Diana and my Brownie, and the occasional picture also on my Speed Graphic. And yeah, it's really a cool project, and I've been working on it a bit more. These pictures are more heavily edited than my documentary work. Normally I don't really heavily edit anything. Normally I just dust spot and do some curves and that's it. That's at least for the documentary work. But this is much more of an artistic project that goes towards how things feel, and they don't necessarily have to reflect reality. So there are quite heavy edits in this one, and quite different sometimes from other pictures that I take. It was a bit of a departure for me, and this already started out with double exposures in camera often. In the Brownie and the Diana, I often don't have the aperture necessary to shoot in the forest. I often took like medium to slow film, like Fomapan 100 in this case. And yeah, this with the apertures I would have double exposures so that I could get an exposure that would give me a picture, because otherwise I would just get, darkness and grain and not much else. So it makes sense to layer even more on top of it. I use pictures from my own archive, and sometimes also from Unsplash if I have a specific, image in mind, what I want for it. And it's much more a project where I make the image rather than just taking it. And that's really cool, and I enjoy that a lot. If you enjoyed the video, then please leave a like and subscribe if you haven't done so already. It really helps out my channel, so I would really appreciate it. And well, I hope I see you soon for another video. Bye!